Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with Realtime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to the Realtime Fantasy Sports Show. I'm joined by Logan Glaser once again. Logan, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff.
We're excited today. We're going to do a deep dive into ADP, right, Logan? We're going to examine it, talk about players we like at their current price tag according to ADP, players we don't like. We're going to talk about trends as well and go over everything ADP today on Real Time Fantasy Sports. How's that sound, Logan?
Absolutely. And ADP is such a great tool to use during your drafts. You kind of get knowledge of where players are going. You want to make sure you take that player that you want before his current ADP. And then also you can see players that are kind of falling with their ADP and you can get good value on them in drafts.
I always tell people ADP is not a ranking. It is not your rankings. It is not how you draft people. It is a guide. So like exactly what you just said. If you like somebody and they're going in the third round and you want them, you might not be able to take them in the third round. You might have to jump up, take them in the second round. It's a guide, right?
Yeah, it's probably the best guy to have.
Yeah, exactly. It's a blueprint, and there's been tons of drafts already on our site, so it's already a very good guide to use for this season. And also, I wanted to mention we are very excited. Today, we are giving away an entry into the Real Time Fantasy Sports Fantasy Championship. This is for a chance to win $500,000. Leagues are drafting round the clock here at Real Time Fantasy Sports at this point. You can even do a slow draft. There's also league prizes in addition to the $500,000 grand championship prize. You can also win $1,600 in league prizes, and it's valued at $300. You must be a legal U.S. resident, at least 18 years of age to play. Also, we want to remind you to play responsibly. Call 1-800-GAMBLER if you need any help. But again, we are giving away a chance for a TFC later on in the show. We're going to tease this right now. We're going to do a trivia question. I think it's pretty good. I stumped our producer, so maybe that's a good sign. I stumped Sean, but I think it's a decent question. But we're going to give it away a little later. You want to pay attention to that. You can post your answer in the stream here on the site, and the first person to answer correctly will win that chance to win a TFC entry for this year. Pretty exciting, the TFC this year, right, Logan?
Absolutely. And that $500,000 grand prize it's massive. So definitely take advantage of that. And it's a great format as well. You do individual leagues first and then go into that overall championship in weeks 15 through 17.
Yeah, and that leaderboard is awesome to watch as you go on. Just a lot of fun to keep track of. Like I mentioned, if you have any questions at all throughout the show, don't hesitate to put them in the stream. You can also call if you want to call in and chat with us. We'll answer any questions you have for us when it comes to fantasy football. And this year, we're really excited about the coming season. We have all sorts of drafts here at Real Time Fantasy Sports going off around the clock. Different price points, different games, different formats, best ball championships, you name it, we got it here at Real Time Fantasy Sports. Also, don't forget about our great commissioner product too. We do a great job with commissioner products if you want to run your league here at Real Time Fantasy Sports. All different options to set up. You can trade draft picks in the future. It's great for dynasty leagues. Just a great commissioner product. Right, Logan? Do you have anything
Absolutely.
to
It's
add with
one
that?
of the best commissioner products that you'll find. I mean, there are hundreds of different customized features that you can do with scoring, rules, free agency, waiver wires, all of that. You can play double headers. You can do an extra win or loss based off the league average. There's so many different options that you can choose from.
Exactly. Okay, let's get into the ADP now. We're going to talk about the ADP from our site, obviously, because we've done a ton of drafts and it's a great tool for you to use, as we mentioned. And if you look at the ADP here, you can sort all different ways on our site. If you go to freedraftguide.com, that is where you can get into where this ADP is. There's a little link at the top to the ADP, but you can sort by PPR, best ball championship, the TFC, which we're giving away an entry to today, Superflex, and even Dynasty. And then you can sort by trends from the last 3 days, week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks. So I thought I would get into that first and look at the trends from the last, let's say the last couple weeks. And if you click on this little trend button, it shows it and it sorts it. So as you can see, Latavius Murray is the biggest mover. He's dropped 14 spots in the last 2 weeks. I don't know what quite going on there with him. That seems like a strange outlier, right? I don't know. I don't quite get that one. Do you at all?
No, I actually don't get why him, but
Yeah. But we'll look at some other guys too. We'll examine them. Noah Fant, he's dropped 13 spots. That's kind of surprising. He's still the number one tight end. I know Will Disley's there, but still, he's dropped a lot lately. Jaden Reed's dropped in Green Bay. Pittsburgh's defense has fallen for some reason. Michael Gallup has fallen 9 spots. Luke Musgrave. Let's look at the guys going up. Jalen Warren, Adam Thielen, Nico Collins. Those are all guys that kind of are on my radar, to be quite honest with you, especially Nico Collins, a guy I think could be the number one receiver in Houston. And
yeah, I think we're both big fans of Nico Collins this year. I mean, just his athletic ability is what separates him. He can definitely be that wide receiver number one in Houston, and they're going to be playing from behind.
and someone has to be the number one wide receiver there. And I think him and Tank Dell, the rookie, has a chance to be it as well. But there's definitely some targets for the taking there in Houston. So I think that's why he's moving up in the rankings. Jimmy Garoppolo's moving up a little bit as well, 6 spots in the last 2 weeks. That's a little bit of a surprise too. Anything else stand out to you on this list here from the guys moving up and down?
Right now, there hasn't been that much news like on the off season, but once we get closer to training camps, with training camp starting, practices going, we're going to see a lot more injuries happen, especially in the first couple of weeks with that. And players are going to move up and down like crazy on these trends. You're going to see 20, 30 ADP swings based off of injury. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Yep, you're right there. And I think it's always interesting to look at the different formats too, though, like best ball. You can click on that. I'm just going to do that here just to show you. And you can see how there's, the rankings differ a little bit there. Patrick Mahomes is going 17th overall. And then you have Dynasty too, which is a whole different animal. So I think this is really interesting. Bijan Robinson, it has an ADP of 2.71. So as you
Yeah.
can see, our ADP, I think it's the best out there in my opinion. It's just such a great tool for any you name it. It's out there for you to look at with this ADP on our site. Just go to freedraftguide.com to take a look at that on there. So we're going to dive into it now, talk about some players we like, dislike at their current ADPs, and go into reasons why. Logan, I'll let you go first. Who's a player you like at their current ADP?
Yeah, my first player I like is Chris Olave. His current ADP is 28.3. So the Saints have 12 games in a dome this year. And usually when a game is being played in a dome, it's going to be more high scoring. You get the ideal weather conditions. Again, like I said, it's going to be great scoring conditions. The Saints are going to have a much better offense this year with Derek Carr coming in. I really like him or Devontae Smith in that around that area. So great start personally for me would be go get, depending on where you're at in your draft, of course, but get someone like Justin Jefferson or Christian McCaffrey with your like 1.1, 1.2 pick, come back around, get Devontae Smith, and then get Chris Olave as well. And I think that sets up your team very well in the first 3 rounds.
I like that. My first player I'm going to talk about is Trevor Lawrence. I just think he's great value. He's QB8 right now. His ADP 63, 63.65. So he's going in that six-ish round range after the elite guys are gone. I think he can be a top 5 QB this year. They added Calvin Ridley. Offensive line's better. The running game should be better with Etienne and Bigsby there as well. So I think this offense is on the rise. Third year in the league as well. Threw for over 4,000 yards last year. Had just 8 interceptions. Had 30 total touchdowns. So for me, I'm not a guy that's going to go too early and get Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I just think it makes more sense to get a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who I think could just post huge numbers this year. Again, QB8 off the board. I think he has top 5 potential. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about him.
Regarding the quarterbacks, kind of this relates with the ADP is we're seeing a lot more quarterbacks being taken early this year. I believe there's 10 quarterbacks being taken in the first 90 for ADP, which you did not see that last year. Quarterbacks have been flying off the board this year. Usually they're going in rounds 3 through 6 is what the majority of quarterbacks have been going in through. You're seeing about 7 or 8 quarterbacks being taken before round 6.
That's a great point, Logan. It's definitely another reason you want to look at this ADP tool and also participate in drafts early on as well. You can do mock drafts or best ball drafts just to get a feel the lay of the land. But you're right, QBs are the elite ones. At least are going earlier and earlier. Give me another guy you like at their current ADP.
Yeah, next player I like is J.K. Dobbins at 42.5 for his ADP. So he came back last year. He got hurt again. He then came back around week 13, played in 5 games to finish out the season. His scoring in those games were 18, 14, 6, 10, and 21. So he had some good games. He had some not so great games, but I really expect this Baltimore offense to be better this year, especially with Lamar Jackson. Got his new contract. He got some upgraded weapons at wide receiver. So I think the potential is there for Dobbins, with Baltimore scoring more this year than last year as they really struggle with that offense. But I think things are going to be clicking for that offense. And I really like where Dobbins is being taken rounds into round 3, early round 4, depending on league size.
I like Dobbins as well. It's another guy I think I'm getting a lot of shares of early on. My next player I'm targeting at their current ADP is T. Higgins. I just think he's great value. His ADP is right around 37. That's wide receiver 14 off the board. I think he's a top 10 option this year. I know receivers really deep, but look at his numbers the last couple of years. He's topped 1,000 yards each of the last 2 seasons. He has more than 100 targets 3 straight years, and he's missed game because of injury the last couple seasons as well. So those numbers could be even better. I know Jamar Chase is there. That's scary, but man, Higgins is super talented. They throw the ball a lot. Joe Mixon is getting older. I don't like their running game. I think they're going to be really pass heavy this year. I think Higgins is ready to explode, and they can both have top 10 receivers this year with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And you can get Higgins later than a lot of those elite guys. Again, he's the wide receiver 14 right now. Let's talk about another player, Logan, you like. Give me another guy.
Yeah, I like Raheem White at around 50 for his ADP. So he's going to have a much improved role this year with the Tampa Bay offense with Leonard Fournette gone. So last year he had 129 rushes and 50 receptions. This year we're going to probably be looking at over 200 rush attempts, along with that ability to have that pass catching back role with Tampa Bay. Their division's a weak, so I think they're still going to be contending for a playoff spot, which is huge for that. And I'm not in love with any of the players that are currently going around him. You got Alexander Madison, Herbert, Keenan Allen, then Raheem White. Then after him, you got Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm not in love with any of those players. So I really like him in that area if you come up in that draft.
All right, I'm going to give you a QB that I like this year, and that is Jared Goff. So he's QB 14 off the board. His ADP's 117.84. Goff had a huge year last year, and his weapons are going to be better this year with Jameson Williams. I know he's suspended the first 6 games, but they have Jahmyr Gibbs as well. I think he's just really undervalued. And again, I'm waiting on QB, and I think he can post just monster numbers this year. Jared Goff, he had over 4,000 passing yards last year, intercepted just 7 times. I think he'll top 30 touchdowns, get close to almost 5,000 passing yards. I think he's going to have a huge year. And again, if you want to wait on a QB, you can get Jared Goff at 117, QB 14. So that's the way I'm looking at things a lot in my draft so far to start this season, because I think Goff, again, another player capable of finishing top 10 overall at their position. All right, Logan, who's your next value here at
Yeah,
80?
another player I kind of want to wait on a little bit for wide receiver is Marquise Brown, currently being drafted in 82 for his ADP. So he'll probably be wide receiver number 3 on fantasy teams, but I think he's got a very high potential and high ceiling. Cardinals are going to be playing from behind. I think they're going to probably be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. It's going to be a lot like Houston last year. They're going to be down and they're going to be passing the ball. And Marquise Brown is going to be their number 1 wide receiver going into the year. You also got Rondell Moore, but Hopkins is gone. So Marquise Brown is going to step up into that role initially. Kyler Murray is still a question mark, so QB is a little bit of a question, but where he's being taken in drafts at 82, I really like that for a number 1 wide receiver on a team that's going to be throwing the ball a lot.
I'm going to give you a little deeper dive here and look a little deeper in drafts. And I want to say Raheem Mostert. His ADP is like 146, around that range. You can get him really late. And right now, he's the number 1 back in Miami. I know there's a lot of competition, a lot of uncertainty. There's a chance Dalvin Cook could sign there, but he's not signed yet. And right now, Mostert's probably most likely to lead them in carries. I know a Chain's there as well, and he could be a good rookie back. But Mostert's a guy that knows the offense. He's been around, produced well last year. He had over 1,000 total yards last year, and you can get him dirt cheap. He's running back 53. So he's 53rd running back off the board, and he could be starting. So why not on Raheem Mostert, in my opinion? That's another guy I like his current ADP. Give me somebody else you like, Logan.
Yeah, quarterback, I'm gonna go with Dak Prescott. His ADP is around 90, so he's currently being the quarterback number 10 drafted, and I think that's great value for where he is. He's a consistent quarterback. So last year, between weeks 9 through 17, his lowest fantasy score was 18.5, which is pretty solid for a quarterback for a fantasy being drafted that late, for that being his lowest score. He's got a high ceiling. Again, he does struggle with the interceptions, but the Dallas puts up so many points, fantasy or points in general, with touchdowns and everything. So that kind of relegates those touchdowns. But I really like him at that draft spot at QB
I
number
agree.
10.
Another reason I like to wait on a QB because you can get somebody like him at that point. All right, my next player I like their current ADP is Chris Godwin. So he is just plummeting in drafts because of their QB situation. Baker Mayfield's going to be their starter most likely. Godwin's ADP is 66.11, and he's the wide receiver 27. 27. This is a guy that caught over 100 passes last year. He has 90 plus receptions 2 straight seasons. He has 120 plus targets 3 or 4 years, and he's the wide receiver 27. I just think that's great value. I know Baker Mayfield's a huge downgrade, but still, this is a guy that could post really good numbers, and I just think it's too good a value to pass up at this point. I'm in all in on Godwin at that current ADP. Give me another guy, Logan.
Final guy is going to be Juwan Johnson, tight end from New Orleans. 165 is his ADP. I'm perfectly fine waiting on tight end and getting Johnson. So Derek Carr loves throwing to tight ends. We saw that with Waller. Johnson had 7 touchdowns in 2022, which is a very solid number, and I expect that number to even improve this year. I think he could have potentially get close to 10 touchdowns in 2023, which at that being drafted at 165, absolutely you will take that. He had some big fantasy games. He scored over 20 fantasy points a couple of times. So it's definitely going to be a guy. If I'm waiting on a tight end and I'm not getting Travis Kelce or Hawkinson, Juwan Johnson's a guy I really like at
I do. I like
165.
Johnson too. Dirt cheap and a lot of high ceiling for that guy. Okay, one more player for me for like. I'm going to give you another receiver, Brandon Aiyuk. So he's actually drafted similar to Chris Godwin at this point. His ADP is right around 76.86. When I wrote this information down, it changes, by the minute here at Real Time Fantasy Sports. So it might be quite a little different, but not much. So he's the wide receiver 31. So he's going 4 spots after Chris Godwin. I just like Aiyuk a lot. Had his first 1,000-yard receiving season last year. Brock Purdy's the one question mark. If he's healthy, I like him from the start of the year. I like him a lot more. But either way, I think Aiyuk's going to have a huge season in a contract year. I think his QB situation will be stable once Purdy's in there. Also, you're hearing great reports. I know it's training camp. I know it's off-season workouts, but they're saying Aiyuk cannot be covered at this point in practices, and that's a really good 49ers defense. So I think that's a great sign. And I think, yeah, Aiyuk's going to have a huge season. He's another guy I like to get later in drafts. All right, Logan, let's do this giveaway now. So, again, we're giving away one free entry to the fantasy championship here at Real Time Fantasy Sports. This is a chance to win $500,000. Leagues are drafting live, slow drafts as well. We're going to do it until the contest sells out also, and there's league prizes, $1,600 in league prizes. This is valued at $300, so it's a great value to win this prize. You must be a legal U.S. resident and at least 18 years of age. Also, please play responsibly. If you need help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So here's my trivia question. I didn't know if it was very hard, but I stumped our producer. Okay.
I think it's hard.
All right, good.
Just going off of it. I would
I
have
wanted
guessed.
to do something according to ADP since this is what our show is about today. So according to this first person to enter in the chat, the correct answer wins. So according to the Real Time Fantasy Sports 2022 PPR average draft position report, so that's last year's average draft position report, who was the first rookie player off the board in drafts last year? First person to answer correctly wins. And we will be watching this carefully on our chat here. So, again, who was the first rookie drafted in drafts last year on Real Time Fantasy Sports 2022 PPR average draft position report? First person to answer gets the prize valued at $300, an entry into the Real-Time Fantasy Sports Championship. So get those answers in, and you will get a chance to win. All right. While we're waiting for those to come in, Logan, let's keep talking about the ADP. Let's talk about players we don't like at their current draft position. Someone put in Kyle Pitts, and that's incorrect. He was not a rookie last year. Right, Logan? 2 years ago.
2 years
Close.
ago, it would have been him.
All right. So we're still waiting for that answer. Let's talk about guys you don't like.
First
Go
player
ahead.
I'm going to be avoiding. First player I'm going to be avoiding for ADP is Travis Etienne. He's currently being drafted around 30, which is very similar to where Chris Olave is. I would much rather have Chris Olave than Travis Etienne this year. Jaguars brought in Tank Bigsby for a little bit of competition role. Etienne will still be the starter, but Bigsby could get some volume there. He only averaged 12 points per game last year. He had some very big games, but he wasn't very consistent, and his yards per carry weren't great. So it's definitely one that I'm going to be avoiding this year.
So someone said Breece Hall. He was second. You're close. You're close. Unfortunately, not the right answer. But
yeah, I personally would be guessing Breece Hall. It definitely
he was one
surprises
spot
me
off.
who this is.
Rookie was one spot off. Breece Hall was one spot behind him. So close. Not quite, though. All right. I'm going to tell you a guy I don't like, and that's Aaron Jones. I know Aaron Rodgers is gone. They could be more run heavy, but I just don't trust him at this point. He had just 2 rushing touchdowns last year. He got a lot of work in the passing game, which helped his numbers, but I just don't have a lot of faith in him. He's getting older. He has been around the league several years, a lot of wear on his belt there, and I just think looking around him, guys I would rather have, I'd go with their younger players, more upside. If you look, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, these are guys I'd rather have than Aaron Jones, in my opinion. J.K. Dobbins, another guy you mentioned, he goes right around him as well. I don't think he's worth it. I'd rather go with the younger player with a higher ceiling. Aaron Jones just scares me at his age and an offense that might not be as good this year with Aaron Rodgers gone as well. So Aaron Jones is a guy I'm out on. All right, Logan, tell me another guy.
Next one is going to be Alexander Madison, currently being drafted at 47. So what concerns me is even when games that Dalvin Cook missed last year, Madison didn't perform that well. He's been with Minnesota for 4 years. His highest volume is 134 carries. So his body is not used to that high volume, and that's what you kind of need whenever you're selecting or running back that early. So I'd much rather have someone like Dobbins or White in that area than going with Alexander.
All right, I'll give you a running back as well. I don't like Damian Harris with the Buffalo Bills. He signed with them this offseason. James Cook is the guy, though, and Harris has an ADP of about 106 right now. So I am not too high on him for that price tag. I just don't know if it's worth it. Again, I'd rather go with players with a higher ceiling, higher upside. I don't think it's going to be a platoon situation with Damian Harris. I think it's going to be James Cook's going to be the guy. He's going to get most of the work. Harris is just going to be a guy to spell him every once in a while. Plus, Bills don't have a great running game to begin with in recent years, so I just don't think he's worth the price tag of 105.93, which is ADP right now. I'd rather get guys going around him, even a guy like Dante Foreman. I think he has a better chance for more carries. Elijah Mitchell, I know he's a backup, but if he gets the starting job in San Francisco, his ceiling's through the roof, so I'd almost rather have him also. He's another guy getting drafted around there, so we're still waiting for a correct answer. Someone put Sauce, I guess Sauce Gardner. We're not counting defensive players. It's just offensive players. So Ken Walker, Drake London. Wow, we got guys. We're close. We still haven't nailed them yet. You guys are giving some good answers though. Definitely good answers. Again, who was the first rookie off the board last year in drafts on our site? Still waiting for a correct answer. So keep guessing. We're still.
It surprises me with him being the one, but he had an okay year last year. Nothing great, but
Yeah, he was
solid.
solid. We're trying to give you hints, guys. We're trying to give you hints, trying to help you out. All right, Logan, while we're still waiting for an answer, give us another guy you don't like at their current ADP.
Yeah, next one is Keenan Allen, currently being drafted in that 49 area, just like Madison, Dobbins, Rasheed White, but he's 31 years old, and for wide receiver, he's downhill at that age. I don't Last year, you were kind of expecting him to have around 90 to 100 receptions. He dealt with an injury last year. This year, you're probably going to be looking at about, I want to say 70 to 80 receptions for him. They're bringing in Quentin Johnson. So that's another target that's going to take up some receptions. So I'm going to be fading Keenan Allen
So
this
a
year.
guy I'm fading, we still don't have a right answer, unfortunately. Someone guessed London. London's not the right answer. Trayvon Walker, not the right answer as well. Still waiting. You're getting close though. Somebody give us the right answer. We only got a few minutes left, but I'm going to give you another player. I don't like it. Their current ADP. That's Tua Tagovailoa. His ADP is 104 right now, and the ceiling's huge with Tua. He can do great in that offense. He's a concussion away from being maybe done in the NFL forever. So that just scares me as a QB 11. I'd rather take a chance on Dak Prescott, who goes around him. Uh, there's some other QBs as well. We have Daniel Jones. I'd rather have him. Kirk Cousins also. Man, Tua scares the heck out of me. If you're going to get him, I think you're going to want to get a good backup option. So Tua is a guy I'm avoiding. He's a QB 11 right now off the board. Garrett Wilson, another guess. That is not right, unfortunately. So let's give him I'm going to give him a hint. It's at the running back spot.
Yeah.
It's a running back. Was the highest drafted rookie last year. Anyone? Couple minutes left. Garrett Wilson's a stud. He's probably the second year drafted this year. So the second year player drafted this year. He's the second year player drafted this year. Am I saying that right, Logan? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm trying to spit out there.
how about we go with one more player that we're going to be
All right,
avoiding
we got
this
a
year?
winner. We got a winner. Michael's got it. Dameon Pierce. That is the correct answer. So, Michael, you have to please in the chat. We will put this. So please send in your information to contest@bettersportsnetwork.com. So that's how you claim your prize. So contest@bettersportsnetwork.com. Michael got it already. Sorry. Someone else just guessed Dameon Pierce, but Dameon Pierce is the correct answer. All right. Good job, Michael. Good job. All right, Logan, give me one more guy before we get out of here. We got a couple minutes.
Yeah, one final one I'm going to be avoiding is Tyler Lockett. Again, he's 30 years old. He's got tons of competition this year in Seattle. You got DK Metcalf, JSN, Kenneth Walker also is going to be getting some touchdowns, Charbonnet. So I think there's just too much competition in Seattle to get that volume that you need from that wide receiver position. And also age is scaring me with him, 30 years old. That's a lot for a wide receiver in that role. So I'm going to be avoiding him at 74 for his ADP.
I agree. All right. So we only got a minute or so left, Logan. Again, Michael, please send an email to contests@bettersportsnetwork.com to claim your prize. Contests@bettersportsnetwork.com. So congratulations to you for winning the big contest for today and entry into the TFC, our $500,000 championship. Just an awesome contest. Drafts going off all the time here at Realtime Fantasy Sports, including the TFC. That's a prize valued at $300. So great work to Michael. Good luck to you. Good luck to you when you enter that draft coming up here. I really appreciate everybody watching and commenting. And Logan, I appreciate you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Yeah, kind of what we said. This is a great guide to use for your drafts. Definitely have it pulled up next to you while you're doing a draft. ADPs are going to differ all over the place, but depending on the contest, the type of style the league is. So it's definitely one that you want to.
Yeah, and to see that, it's freedraftguide.com. Click on ADP. So coming up now on BSN at 1 p.m., we have the Fantasy Fiasco with Andrew Cooper. Tune into that. Coming up next here on BSN. Thanks a lot.